It's now the middle of October, and the second half of the beekeeping season has started. First half of the season is all about honey, swarm control, possibly breeding new queens, all that sort of thing. But now that's all sort of stopped. It's getting colder, and fairly soon the bees will stop coming out the hive. Certainly I'm not going to open up the hives again until April next year. So it might be tempting to think that, well, that's it for beekeepers, they can just take it easy for the next 6 months or so and wait for the good weather to come. In fact, the reality is things just carry on all year round, particularly when you've got the number of hives that I've got. And the purpose of this blog is just to give you an idea of some of the jobs that need to be done over the winter. Some of them may well be blogs in their own right, but this just gives you a flavour of what goes on during the winter. The most expensive job I'm going to have to do over the winter is to sort out this chaos here. This is at the end of the garden, and all of these boxes here are my spare supers, which are the little ones, and the brood boxes, and there's a couple of them over there. Now, it's not normally like this, but I'm going to buy a shed to put all these things in to keep them dry and in better condition. So what I've started to do is just sort of clear out the area, and the little post things you can see, that's a 6x8 shed. So I'm going to see whether I can fit all this stuff inside the shed, and I might have to put a proper floor down to get it level. I can't wait. This is the top bar hive, and unfortunately the colony that was in there died, and I'm not too sure why. So for the winter, what I need to do is to basically clean it up, and we'll just go and have a look inside so you can see what's in there. Oops, bear with me a second, let's try and get the roof not falling off. Okay, inside here you can see the frames that they drew out. They started off on, have I got one here? No. But they started off with just a little bit of wax and drew them all out. And you can see, say like that one, that's gone a bit mouldy, so I need to get rid of that. What I'll probably do is just cut it across there and use this as a strip for next year. There's quite a lot in there, and just looking down, that's horrible. That's mouldy as well, so a bit of work to do there. The other thing I need to do, I think, is to extend the floor at the bottom. Can you see the mesh there? I think I'm just going to extend it this way a little bit. Just the colony it was in there was getting very big, and it helps to help them clean the thing out. And the other thing that I need to do around here is the entrance there isn't great, and I need to sort of make it a longer entrance, and also have something on there to prevent the wasps getting in, which is one of the things I think contributed to the demise of the colony. So that's the top bar hive. This is another of the hives in Ravensden, and looks to me like it's about to collapse. You see, that doesn't look great there, does it? So what I'm going to have to do is move the thing onto another table. I've got one there, so I'll shunt this up next to it. It's a shame this is one of the biggest, heaviest hives, but needs to be done, or else the table could collapse, and that would be a bad thing. Another sort of routine winter job is to repair the frames that have become damaged, or perhaps no, start again. Another classic winter job is to just generally repair the supers and the brood boxes, and in particular replace any frames that need new foundation in, you know, these sort of things, which involves buying an awful lot of these wax sheets. So a fairly simple job, but one that needs to be done for next spring. The autumn feeding has been done now, but later on in the year I need to think about topping up their food with some extra stores, and we'll use this stuff, which is fondant, and it's the stuff that you get on top of Marks and Spencer's birthday cakes. And what I will do is I'll cut it into chunks. I will put it into one of these things, just a little yogurt pot. It'll have a top on it like that, with a hole here, and this will go on top of the hive like that, and the bees can come up and take it if they want it. And it's a fairly simple job, just to keep checking it every now and again, just in case they need a bit of extra food. In winter, bees don't hibernate. They become what's called torpid, which means that basically they just slow right down to conserve as much energy as they can. They group together and they keep themselves warm by just flexing their wing muscles, and this means that the inside of a beehive is surprisingly warm and is only a few degrees below what it is during the summer. So somewhere that is warm, sheltered, with plenty of food means it's quite an attractive option for things looking for somewhere to hunker down for winter. And for beekeepers, they have to be aware that mice quite like taking up residence in beehives, and if you do get them in there, they can do an awful lot of damage, as you can see from these photographs. And here's a little clip of something that I found last summer when I was clearing out a hive. One confusion. Here. So to keep the mice out of the beehive, you use these things, which are mouse excluders, which are metal strips, and they've got holes in them here so that there's still ventilation, but the mice can't get past these things. So they just go over the entrance like this, and you attach them with drawing pins. Like that. So that will hopefully keep the mice out and the bees happy till next spring. Another winter job is to treat frames for wax moth. And what wax moth do is that they will lay their eggs in the drawn out comb of a frame, and their eggs will hatch, pupae will emerge, and they basically destroy the insides of a frame. They eat the wax. And they can be extremely destructive, as you can see from these pictures. I did inherit a hive that had been killed off by wax moth, and here's a little clip of what I found inside. Well, yeah, look, there's one there, and this is what they do. Just those are the pupae in there, and they slowly but surely destroy the frame. Oh golly, look at this one. Crikey. Blimey. There's one there, there's one there, they're everywhere. And if I try and prise these apart, Christ, look at that. Horrible. Now, to deal with wax moth, the sort of traditional way was to use something called Certain, or B401 to give it its street name, and you would make up a solution of it, and then you'd put it into a sprayer like this, and you would spray the frames. Now, unfortunately, Certain's no longer available in this country. Its license expired, and the manufacturers have said it's too expensive to get it reapproved, so they're not, although they have done it in America. So I'm going to have to find something different to use this year, and what I'm going to use is this little thing here, which is what's called a sulfur burner, and it has a little hook there, and to that hook you add a strip of this, which is sulfur, and you light it, put it on top of the frames you want to treat inside a brew box, and the fumes will come out of these slots and permeate around and hopefully do a job on the wax moth. I don't know how this is going to work, and I'll do a blog about it when I finally get around to doing it. And it's usually done towards the end of the year, almost into the new year. As well as treating for varroa, possibly in spring, and then in sort of August time, beekeepers will normally give their bees a winter treatment as well. And the way I do it is I use this thing, which is called a vaporizer, and the idea behind it is that you attach the crocodile clips to a 12-volt battery. At the other end there's a little crucible type thing, and in there you put a little tablet of oxalic acid, and the little crucible will get very hot. This will vaporize and produce a cloud of vapor that goes around the hive and treats the bees. This is quite an effective way of doing it, but I do have a couple of polynukes and polystyrene and hot metal don't mix, so I'll have to find a different way of doing those hives. And what I use is this thing, which is just a syringe, and I make up a solution of oxalic acid, and then you just squirt this into the frames. Now, the advantage of this one over a more normal sort of medical syringe is that this tube goes into a little pot of oxalic acid liquid, and it means that when you pump this thing, it then automatically resets itself, and you can just keep pumping it like a sort of pump action sort of shotgun thing. So it makes it a lot quicker and a lot easier to use. This is normally done in the new year when there's very little brood around, if any, and it has been very successful for me anyway over the last few years. In winter, to help the bees keep warm and keep the hive warm, I put these things around the hive. They are sheets of sort of rubberized material, a bit like pond lining, and it does help to keep the heat up. So you sort of wrap the thing around like this. And so it's like that, and there's a little slot there at the bottom, so there is some ventilation, but the rubber sheeting around the hive keeps the inside quite warm. So those are most of the jobs I'm going to try and get done this winter. Apart from them, there are other just general sort of tidying up, painting, that sort of thing that needs to be done. However, there is possibly a job to be done which is the worst thing you could possibly imagine. Now, some of my bees, I think it's about a dozen colonies, are at Scald End, which is a farm about 3 or 4 miles down the road. And it's a long, thin strip of a field, and there's a stream going through one side of it. And there's lots of sort of brambles and things around this stream, and my bees are sort of in that area. Now, a little while ago, the farmer, Martin, said to me that he was having all of his hedgerows sorted out, and also all the streams and things cleared, because over the years they become overgrown and clogged and weren't working properly. And he said to me that could I move my bees just a little way, about 10 foot or so, something like that, away from the stream, which is where they were next to, so that the contractors could get their equipment in and clear it all out. Oh, gee, you cannot imagine how awful it was. Beehives are extremely heavy, and when you're an old man like me, trying to move these things is no joke. Now, to give you an idea, this is what it used to look like. And this is what it now looks like. Now, the problem I have is that, as you can see, there's a lot of scrub all the way along where the bees are. Now, if Martin moves all of that, that makes it completely open, and the bees will have no protection whatsoever from the weather. And it's widely accepted that you should keep bees under some sort of cover. So, what happens? Well, if let's say the worst that can happen is that that whole area is cleared and flattened, and then I have to think about possibly moving the bees somewhere else completely. If the first job, moving them 10 foot, is pretty grim, moving them completely is just awful. That's assuming I can find somewhere, another farm probably, to put them up, and then to physically move. As I said, I think it's about a dozen hives I've got up there. It's possible that some of that scrub won't be moved. There are little bits of it that look like they may be staying there, in which case I might be able to keep the bees up there, albeit I'll have to move them about a short distance so that they're out of cover. I can't move them up here, up to Ravensden. There's a limit to the number of hives I said to Richard I would keep up there. So, I don't know. It's the sort of thing which you just don't want to think about. But I might have to. Anyway, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in a bit.